other people is I'm striking toward myself, and the reason I like to do that instead of setting up a platform and hitting it over here away from myself is that I can see the ridge and I can line my punch up with that ridge, which is pretty important. You've got to line that up directly with that ridge, otherwise the flake will veer off to one side. Of course, if it's over there, you're going to have a lot more difficulty in trying to determine where that ridge is since you can't see it. Okay, get this set up here. Maybe I'll zoom in here on the next one, but for right now, squeezing it real tight, pushing down with the punch real hard. There's our flake. It did leave a pretty huge bulb, but we'll straighten that up here in a minute. This part's fine right in here. Probably before I get this next one here, I'm going to have to remove a few flakes off in there in order to straighten that ridge out a little bit. That should do it. I'll try and zoom this in so you can see the placement of the punch a little bit better on this one. Let's see if we can zoom in here. How's that? Okay, give that a try. Okay, it's about the right angle. Alright. Flake broke on me in a couple of places, but here you can see the right from here to here. Let me zoom back out. Alright, that's a little better. Okay, so here's the first flake we took, and here's the second flake. It's getting better. I'll set up some more platforms and kind of go around this thing. Still got to get to this one eventually. Two more platforms set up. Got one right here. Follow this ridge. The other one is set up right here. Follow this ridge. Remove some more of this cortex. Start with this one. Now we'll remove this one. Always check the tip, make sure there's no debris in it. Okay. Go down into here. Now set up some more. Here's two more. One right here along this ridge. This ridge is not very pronounced, so I want to take a fairly shallow flake so it doesn't spread out too much. Same thing over here. We've got a ridge, but the face is a little bit flat, so it's kind of a shallow flake where I've scored my platform there. Try and zoom in again here. There we go. Okay, spread out, went all the way down here. Now we'll do the other one. Okay. That one really spread out. It's a good flake though. Get rid of a lot of that cortex on there. And I'll take a few more and without showing you, and then we'll show you the last few flakes before we move on to pressure flaking. Okay, I've got one final platform set up for indirect percussion, and I could continue further with the indirect percussion, but pressure flaking gives me such good control. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that as soon as I remove this next flake. So this will be the last indirect percussion flake, unless I get a particularly difficult area, and then I can switch back over to it, because it does allow you to remove much bigger flakes. I'm not sure if I showed this in the past, but using a moose billet to strike my punch. This punch I believe is elk, it might be moose, I can't remember. I found it in my box of antler parts. It's a good one though. Okay, now I'll switch over, I'll get it set up, and we'll show you how to do the pressure flaking. Okay, I've got the platform set up to remove a couple of pressure flakes right here, right here. Before I do that, just want to describe my pads a little bit. I've only been pressure flaking these by hand for less than a week now. I made these last Friday, and today's Wednesday. And I made these pads in an effort just to see if I could do it by hand. I wasn't sure, and anyway, I was really surprised how well they work. Prior to that, I was using a chest crutch, similar to what Crabtree uses, and the chest crutch will allow you to remove much longer flakes, but it's kind of awkward to use, and you got to get it set up in the vise, and you can't have any slippage of the core in the vise, and I wasn't able to get the control that I can get by hand. Of course, I'm making smaller cores than I would using a chest crutch, but this tool works really, really well. So the reason I have 3 different pads here, these were my first 2 attempts, and this is fine for a narrow flake, but if the flake is wider than that, it creates problems. You can't have anything touching the flake surface as it removes. This channel here is a little bit wider, and that works out really nice, but as the core gets smaller, the face of the core sometimes will touch the bottom. So I had to make a 3rd pad. This one I added a couple more pieces of conveyor belt here to raise it up a little bit higher. Put a little piece of cloth down in there just to cushion the flakes as they fly off the core, and that gives me a little bit more room there so that the flakes can release freely without touching anything. This is my favorite pad right here. Another important thing here is these things are extremely sharp, and I was using this particular piece of leather to support the pad in my hand, and I found that flakes went right through it and right into my finger down to the bone, probably the deepest cut I've ever had flint napping after 25 odd years of napping. So you want to have some thick leather. This is buffalo leather, and even that, it's going right through one side. Makes me a little cringe a little bit sometimes, because I'm thinking the damn flake's going to go right into my finger again. But it hasn't happened again, so we'll give it a try here. The Ishi stick, this is it. My old favorite Ishi stick. Wait a minute, it's the one with the, I think this is like 3/8 inch copper. You need a pretty stout tip, because you are putting a lot of force into it. But okay, so I get this braced up here. Hopefully you can see that. Here's my platform set up. We're going to be removing probably this cortex here and have the flake terminate down in here. Line it